So far, we've talked about compassion, fairness, and sharing, and also how our preferences for our own groups can shape how we distribute resources. In many instances, what we find in the moral development literature is that although kids have the seeds of morality from early in life, preferring generous people and sometimes acting with surprising compassion, they're also not fully adult-like in important ways until relatively late, well into grade school. Children tend to rely on rules and conventions to guide their judgments, like what the law says or school rules, and only relatively late in life are able to reason about sticky gray areas, cases in which breaking a small rule might result in a greater good. However, there's one interesting case where kids may initially be more virtuous than adults, a case that will perhaps make sense given what we've said so far about children's very gradual mastery of theory of mind and false belief. Specifically, kids are absolutely terrible liars. Not only do many children not even try to lie early in life, but when they do, they're often extremely obvious. Before we get to the details, it's important to ask why children, or people in general, lie at all. Most parents probably don't want their kids to lie, but they do nevertheless, sometimes in shocking ways. What does this say about our kids? Is it our fault? And if so, should we try to stop it? Is this even possible? To make sense of these questions, I sat down with psychologist Kong Lee from the University of Toronto, a leading expert on the psychology of lying in childhood. I started by asking Dr. Lee why he's interested in children's lying.
About 20 years ago, when I started my research, I discovered that although people all over the world are interested in promoting children's honesty from very young age, there's almost no research about how children learn to tell lies. And another reason for pursuing this topic is because when I just got started about 20 years ago, in North America, as well as in UK and Australia and New Zealand and Canada, there were a lot of allegations of child sexual abuse against their relatives, parents. Some of the cases eventually turned out to be not true. So then that raised the question of whether or not some of the children were able to deliberately telling lies on behalf of one parent or the other or someone else, or children actually were incapable of telling lies.
Next, I asked Dr. Lee why kids lie in the first place.
The most compelling reason for children to tell lies is that they have to conceal their transgressions. The reason for them to do so is because that, as you may know, the children from young age tend to have difficulty to inhibit their actions. That is, they sometimes do things they are not supposed to do. So they cannot comply with the instructions of their parents, teachers, and others. And in order to cover their track, they have to tell lies because it's a very easy thing for them to do is to lie. So this is the most common type of lies children tell. The second most common type of lies children tell is white lie. These are the lies we tell to spare others' feelings. These kind of lies are not coming naturally to us. We are actually socialized or taught to do so with increased age. There are also type of lies that North Americans may not tell, but people, let's say in Asia, would tell. For example, one type of lies are we call modesty lies. These are the lies you tell to conceal your good behaviors because you don't want to show yourself to be too different from others. Yet another type of lies that are told by people in East Asia as well as in North America and other cultures is so-called blue lies. Blue lies are the lies we tell to conceal the transgressions of a group or to help a group. So for example, if your team has cheated to win a game, instead of telling the truth to the other team or the judges or the referees, you sometimes do to lie about that. So this kind of lies is serving the purpose of helping your own group. It's called blue lies because people have claimed that police tend to tell these kind of lies in the name of justice, because your uniforms are typically blue, therefore it's called blue lies.
Okay, so this explains a little bit why kids lie, but what predicts how much our kids will lie? Is this a heritable trait or is it a purely learned behavior?
We have studied this question for over 20 years. I know now for sure there are a number of things that do not predict children's lying. For example, your parental socioeconomic status. Regardless of whether or not you are from a working class family or upper middle class family or middle class family, you are equally likely to tell a lie. And regardless of your religion, you are equally likely to tell lies. So regardless of how strict your family is in terms of religious practice and education, and you tell lies regardless. And we also found you tell lies to cover up your transgression regardless of cultures. So we have found the exact same number of children will tell lies in North America, in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, in South America. Regardless, they are equally likely to lie to conceal their transgressions. We also found that the child's temperament does not predict whether or not the child is going to lie. And we also have found that parenting styles do not predict children's lying. That is, if you are very strict as a parent, or you are very liberal or permissive as a parent, your child is equally going to lie to conceal their transgressions. So then, what really predicts children's lying? There are two things I call ingredients for lying. They are very important. These two ingredients are called, one is called the theory of mind, or the mind reading ability. The other one is called the executive functioning. So the mind reading ability is the ability that you can tell that what I know differs from what you know. And this is the basis of lying. So if I know you don't know what I know, therefore I can lie to you. But if I know you know what I know, then there's no point for me to lie to you. So you have to be able to understand this in order to tell a bona fide lie. And this ability seems to emerge around 2 years of age. And that's why we see some kids at 2 years of age begin to tell lies, because their mind reading ability seems to be more advanced than some other 2-year-olds who still couldn't figure out, what you know is differing from what I know. And they tend to tell the truth. So the second key ingredient for lying is the so-called executive functioning. Executive functioning refers to the ability that you control your facial expression, your body language, as well as your speech, so that you can tell a good lie. So if you are more advanced in executive functioning, such as you can control your speech better, you can control your facial expression better, then you tend to lie earlier and tell lies better than other kids. So it's very ironic that, so these two abilities are actually very essential for all children in the world to function well in their society. So if you develop these two abilities earlier, better, you're going to be better liars. So it's ironic in the fact that, better liars are actually better developed kids. If you don't lie early, you don't lie at all, there may be something wrong with the child. So this is kind of paradoxical.
Dr. Lee's answer to this last question raises another important question, at least in my mind. If my child lies a lot, should I be worried?
No, it's very usual, very common for children to lie. So we have found all over the world, with regards to telling lies to conceal their transgressions, children at 2 years of age would lie about 30% of the time. That is, 30% of children at 2-year-olds would lie. At 3 years of age, 50% of children will lie. At 4 years of age, more than 80% of children will lie. And from 4 years of age onward, the majority of children will lie. So there are actually very few children who do not lie after 4 years of age. So if your child does not lie, something's wrong with this child.
Finally, to wrap up our discussion, I asked Dr. Lee if there's anything we can do as parents to help our child lie less.
We are terrible at detecting children's lies. We have done studies by asking people from all walks of life to detect either children's lies or their own children's lies. And we found, regardless of who you are, as an adult, your performance at detect children's lies is 50%, just like flip a coin. Paradoxically, I would advocate parents to promote honesty in children as young as they can. Even though I said that lying is very common, but you do not want your child to lie frequently or lie anytime they want, because people have found that those kids who lie frequently at young age and lie poorly tend to develop conduct problems. They are going to have behavioral problems such as aggression and stealing or other kind of misconducts. So how do you promote honesty? And we have done work on this topic for 20 years. And there are a few things that you don't have to do. One is there's no need for you to talk to your child about the importance of honesty and negativity of lying. It's totally useless. So what is useful? Well, if you really want your child to tell the truth, number one, you have to make sure you do not punish your child either severely when you have discovered that your child has lied. That's number one. Number two is you yourself have to model honesty when you encounter situations such as transgression or break something in the household. So you have to model truth-telling. Number three is, if you really want your child to tell you the truth, you should ask your child to promise you to tell the truth. And also, if you really want to use storybooks to promote your child's honesty, and do not read your kid stories about the boy who cried wolf, it's useless. Or do not read the story about the Pinocchio because it's useless. What you really need to read the story to your child is George Washington and the cherry tree. And that's the story seemed to be able to promote children's honesty very well.